Thank you for giving me that. This will be interesting. Someone's joining on Zoom.
Oh, okay.
See what they do. Ooh.
Yeah.
Oh, he must have his video off. I was thinking Tom Hausman just joined. Do you see that? Do you see that he joined? Okay. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I'd like to call the Isabella County Commissioners work session. I did the in-person electronic.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Clerk Watts, the roll call vote.
Commissioner Hutchinson,
Present, reporting remotely from the Isabella County Commission and Aging System.
Commissioner Eber,
Here.
Commissioner Jasinski,
Present.
Commissioner Marina,
Present.
Commissioner Sweeney,
Here.
Commissioner Holt,
Present.
Commissioner Horton.
Here.
Present, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Clerk Watts. Before we move on to the approval of the agenda, I'd just like to state that this is the first board, actual live board meeting that we've had as a county board since March 17th, 2020. I'd like to welcome my fellow board members, we have a new board member this year. Anybody who hasn't met Terry, this is Terry Hutchinson to my left here. Terry comes to us from the City School District. Welcome to board, Terry. We've been, of course, virtualizing Again, we've gone through a lot of issues and a lot of problems in our lives since March of last year. And I'm glad to have everyone in attendance tonight that's here. And it wouldn't be made possible tonight with setting everything up without the help of 5 people. Let's start with our county administrator, Controller Marvin McAvoy, and 4 other people, Michelle Gray, our IT employee, Jessica Jalasowitz, Nicole Frost, and Marcy Jerome. Like I say, thank you everyone those for helping and getting everything set up so we can make this our first actual live board meeting / hybrid board meeting. And with that, let's go down on the agenda. We have done public comments. We have presentation, discussion reports. We have the Middle Michigan Development Corporation annual report, the Central Dispatch 911 surcharge presentation. We have boards and commissions. We have one appointing Mr. Bob Peters to the Reappointments Workforce Development Board. Next, we move to committee reports, finance and administration. Finance and administration is on seven. Thank you. Next up, criminal justice and county affairs.
Criminal Justice and County Affairs Committee, Mr. Chairman.
Next, human resources and public works committee.
Human Resources and Public Works Committee is all set, Mr. Chairman.
We have nothing in the governmental affairs, or do we? Vice Chairman Hull?
We do not.
Thank you. Next up, nothing in the administrative control reports. We have nothing in the unfinished business. We have nothing in the public comments, announcements. We will have 3 closed sessions. And we now down to new bills. Do you have anything on the new bills?
Mr. Chairman, I would like to add to new business, item 1, and that would be consider extending the Isabel County Administrative Controller Employment Agreement through December 31st, 2021. We will have that in the County Administrative Controller, same to 12/31. That brings to the so, that being said, and that line, motion and support, please put the agenda.
So moved.
Support. Or we have a motion by Moreno and support by Hope for the approval of the agenda. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? We have an agenda. Next up, we have general public comments. In general public comments, we're limited to 3 minutes. To the items that you'd like to in general public comments, and it's got to make your name and your address. Is there anybody here that would like to say anything in the general public comments? Nicole, do you have anybody on the email?
We do not at this time, Mr. Chairman.
All right, I will look around and I'll look around the room who's walking up. And also, Nicole, give me a thumbs up to move on. We got a thumbs up to move on, so I'll close general public comments and move down to presentations and special reports. First up, after the long hiatus, Mr. James McBride from the Middle Michigan Development Corporation.
Yes.
This is,
You want me to share the annual report or I can screen share? So just tell me what it'll show up there. Just tell me when we're going to say got it, and we're going to turn on this video.
This is like this.
So this will show your video on there if you want to sit and talk.
That should be enough.
And that's your microphone, so you want to make
And
sure.
also, too, while we're getting set up, this is just for a shout out to the audience. This is our first run through, or first time on this. We're probably going to have some technical difficulties along the way. As we go forward. And we've already told that I have to speak up louder. Most people don't have one, but that's. I'll try my best to speak up louder. And
Mr. Chairman, can you hear me okay?
we can.
All right? They can hear me online. Okay, Nicole was going to pull out our annual report. I think those of all of you who are present should have a hard copy by now. And if we could go to the inside front cover next page. Right, so just in review, just a little further down. So the basic, no matter whether we're going through a pandemic or in better times, we continue to focus on 3 basic areas at Middle Michigan: business retention and growth, business attraction, and community development. But as you'll see in a few minutes, we'll talk a little bit about some of the grant activity that we had this past year. You'll see how this really became a whole different interpretation especially in the area of business retention and growth, as we administered some pretty massive grant programs on behalf of the state. Next page, we're going down to the blue box. And I just want to mention.
Did I go too far? Okay.
Yeah, so these are our 2020 metrics. So in spite of the headwinds we had with the pandemic, companies in our area, now this is 2 counties we're talking about here. So this would be Isabella and Clare counties. We saw $134 million invested. I'm going to skip over grants for a moment. 298 new hires, 542 company visits, and 1,219 company assists. So what that means is if we're working with a company and they need help from the state in one area, and they might need assistance with locals in another area, those are 2 different things that we assisted them with. So that's where we come up with that count. But back on grants, if you look at this number, there is no year. In fact, I think if you went back the last 10 years, in terms of the grants that we've been able to trigger on behalf of our area, you don't come up with this number. So 4,240,706 in grants that we received from the state of Michigan, and some of that was CARES Act dollars, and that was federal, passed through the state that we were able to administer. So I'm going to talk about that a little more if we can skip to the next page. And let's, this is the narrative here, which we're going to let you read, but let's go to the next page. And so we'll talk about these programs briefly. So back in March of 2020, so it started with the Michigan Small Business Relief Program, and 15 organizations were selected by the state to administer grants for small businesses. In this case, it was 50 employees or less. So we were able to get $200,000 for area businesses here, which is not bad, but you'll see that increase in other programs. And we were able to help 169 small businesses in Isabella, Clare, and we were added Gladwin and Gratiot counties. In addition to that, Dow Chemical, the Clare Community Foundation, and TCF Bank contributed another $45,000 that went to businesses primarily in Isabella and Clare counties. Then we did the Match on Main, which is the next one there. This was highly competitive. It was only $1 million statewide. We were one of 22 communities that were selected statewide, and we received $48,000 that we distributed among 22 small businesses in downtown Mount Pleasant. So that obviously in Isabella County. This was a downtown only program. It had to be in a downtown and so on. So we were able to do that. And this is all in response to COVID-19 and helping companies deal with their shortfall during that time. So let's scroll down a little bit more. Okay, so then the Restart program was the really big one. And this is $100 million in CARES Act money. And the state asked us to pick up 2 more counties on this program. So we were responsible also for Aranac and Midland counties, along with our 2 service area counties, Clare and Isabella, and then Gratiot and Gladwin. So we had 871 applicants, and we did 842 awards. And frankly, we really did award everybody that applied that wasn't a duplicate, because we did have, we had a few people that got a little creative and put in more than one applicant for the same company. So, we said, okay, nice try. You're going to get 1 grant, not 2 or 3. And then we had some that were not eligible because one of the issues was with this grant program that you had to have received a hit due to COVID-19. Your business had to be impacted in a negative way. We had, believe it or not, some companies actually made more money during the pandemic. So if they actually had an increase in sales, they were not eligible for this program. So that's how we ended up going from 871 down to 842. So every legitimate request got funded, and many for 10,000 and more. So and our share of that pot was $3,325,000 for our area. So it was a huge amount of money. Okay, let's go down a little bit and we're going to not necessarily necessarily go through all these, but Nicole Wilson from Midland Business Alliance, Stephanie Buffman from Merrimack, let's keep going. Jim Wheeler from Greater Gratiot, Ann O'Loughlin, Claire, and then Bob Balzer, next page, from Gladwin County. All had, a lot of good things to say about how we administered that program, working in cooperation with these other fellow economic development organizations. And then let's go down a little bit further. I think you all know Jim Bolton, and he, his quote, "COVID-19 has been challenging for most businesses, especially for restaurants and microbreweries. If it wasn't for the grant opportunities from MMDC, it would have been extremely difficult to weather the storm. For those bills not covered by other programs, as we start our recovery and get past this pandemic, it's partners like MMDC that I credit for survival and recovery." So we were very humbled by that comment. Similar comments from Rhino, people know Ms. Rhino, Greg Reinerson from Cops and Donuts, and the big thing there was waiting for the PPP funds to arrive. That took a little bit of time to work that to the banks, and so the grants that they received from us were helpful in helping them to keep the business. Let's go down again. So these next 6 pages, I'm going to skip over these because this was an insert, an article that ran in Business and Focus magazine. So let's keep going. Just kind of scroll through. I'm going to let you read this at your leisure. Just like a summary of some of the things that took place in 2019 and early 2020. And by the way, we skipped over, there was an ad there, but that ad appeared in the magazine, so we just reprinted it. There's another one there from GI Tech. So, we don't do advertising in our annual report, but when we're reprinting an article that did contain advertising, that appears. Okay, so let's just go down a little bit more on this page. I want to talk about Highland Plastics, Unified Brands, and also Bear Packaging, some local businesses here in Highland Plastics is in Shepherd, Unified Brands is in Wademan, and they, during this pandemic, did a lot in terms of producing protective enclosure boxes that were utilized by the healthcare industry. And then Bear Packaging did a lot. They make plastic bags, and they were able to deliver plastic bags to healthcare facilities. And so that was all 3 of these companies stepped up to the plate, and others did too, but we're just covering the ones here in Isabella County that really stepped up to the plate and helped out during the pandemic. Let's go a little further. Okay, I wanted to talk here a little bit about, we'll scroll down some more here, MAC LTT, and of course, this is the 2020 annual report, so there's been updated news on MAC LTT that's not covered in this article. But the story here, many of you know who Birch Tank is. Birch Tank, well known for producing stainless steel tanker trailers, to haul milk and chemicals and other things that they make some of the best business. Well, they sold the manufacturing facility to MAC LTT out of Ohio, Kent, Ohio. And MAC LTT agreed to stay in a short-term lease and to lease the space at Birch Tank. But from what we were gathering, there was, a real danger that they were going to move those operations to their other facilities in Northern Ohio. Well, it just so happened that we had another company in the Mount Pleasant South Industrial Park, Dayco, which is an automotive parts manufacturer, as part of a global consolidation. They're moving all of their North American manufacturing facilities down to Mexico, 3 of them in Michigan, 1 in Arkansas, 1 in Kansas, and I think there's one other one that I'm not remembering right now, but moving all of that down to Mexico. So we're losing Dayco in the South Industrial Park. Well, it just so happens that, we were able to make some connections, and with the help of the MEDC and a business development grant and generous response by the city of Mount Pleasant, we're able to get MAC LTT to stay in the county. They're going to stay in Isabella County, and they're going to move into the Dayco building. So while that's not exactly been announced, it's I can say it because it's It's all the contracts have been signed and the company has informed people, but there hasn't been like a general press release about it. But it's good news that we're able to retain this company, and they're planning to expand, potentially tripling or quadrupling their current operations of stainless steel tankers. You can see one in the picture there, and that's the current crew, but they're actually hiring right now very aggressively and are planning to expand. Let's go down a little further. Okay, and then of course you all see, this is an older photo, but you can see the Broadway Lofts going up, and we're very excited about Green Tree being able to quadruple their size on the ground floor. So that's been a huge success story here at downtown Mount Pleasant. Let's keep going. We'll skip over Harrison because that's County. Some of these other ones, I think the Blanchard Community Center, the story about that. Let's try to hit the highlights. And so let's stop right there. So the wind project, I want to share, my appreciation for all of you, because without the strong support of this board and your administrator Margaret, this is a project. You got to know these projects are not being routinely approved across the state. When the anti-folks show up and drum the drumbeat, we see many communities shrinking away, not wanting to deal with the controversy and all that. So, and Tim's done a great job too. You guys, I want to give you a lot of credit, and hopefully we were able to help too as part of that process. Working with the Apex and working with that election that we had, and we were strongly supportive as well. And one of the things that folks at DTE they quote me often is I made a comment a while back that if the local economic development folks go neutral on a project like this, neutral means no. Neutral means no. So you got to take a stand. And you guys took a stand. We did it as a community, and we have 136 hours up to show for it. So, kudos to all of you. All right, let's keep going here. We'll skip over these, but I want to stop. Okay, let's stop on that. Okay. We've got the hosting a photography. We did a photography workshop. We have equipment at MMDC for any business, small, large, any business that wants to borrow our photography equipment. We've got kinds of things you need if you're going to do photography of a product and you want to show it in the best possible light. We've got all the different things that that you need to do that, and you can even be used with an iPhone, or if you're using that or a regular camera. But we have all of that stuff that's available for anybody who would like to come and use it or check it out and take it to their shop and bring it back. So, we were able to get that with some grant funds, and that's available for anybody in the area that needs help with their product photography. We continue to work closely with Mid-Michigan College and Michigan Works Region 7B on apprenticeships, very aggressive about that. And also the engineering school at Central Michigan University. I always like to say, Michigan graduates more engineers than I think almost all the other states combined. I had heard that. I'm not 100% sure if that's true, but I know that it's a dramatic number of engineers, way more than any other state. And yet we still have an engineer shortage in our state. It's incredible. The demand for chemical engineers, for electric engineers, and many other fields, mechatronic. So these are areas that we push hard on the internships, because we want to make sure that the folks at Michigan College and at Central, especially going through the engineering program and the business school, have a chance to connect with our local companies so that when they graduate, they consider those companies as a place to go and work. Okay, so let's go a little further. Okay, and just I was honored to get the medalist of the year for 2020 from MEDA, the Michigan Economic Development Association. And I'm currently serving as the president of that organization this year. Let's go a little further. We'll go down. These are our sponsors and our partners. And I just want to stop there. You know, about 70% of our funding comes from the partner list that you see there, and we're continuing to build up. It's better than it was, you know. It probably was about 85% when I first joined MMDC. So we're trying to get more sponsors. So we've had some success there. A little tough during COVID to do that, but we're starting to work on that some more again now. Get more sponsors involved, but still the lion's share of our funding comes from this list of the 2020 partners that you see here, and we couldn't do our job without the funding support from Isabella County. So I want to take this opportunity to thank you for that ongoing support. Okay, and let's, these are our executive directors, and of course Margaret is one of our executive directors. We're very happy to have her on our board, and the rest of our board members are down below. And you can see a little further down, see the rest of the list. Okay, so that's the annual report. And then the other thing that I had, and I didn't have a chance to get that to you, Nicole, but I'll just mention you should have a hard copy, a single sheet. This is quarters 1 and 2. This is our report on company visits so far in 2021 and the breakout of that. So basically the way to read this, so this is just 2 counties. Again, overall totals, company visits 155 so far this year, 103 of those are in Isabella County, for that's 66%. New job hires, believe it or not, 506 and 491, so 97% of those are in Isabella County. Net new investments, over $6.3 million. 3.4 million of that was in Isabella County, about 55%. Company assists, and I went over that earlier, 267 and 196 in Isabella County, so 73%. And then we've had further grant activities this year. You'll see them appear in our 2021 annual reports. We had the survival grant program. Isabella County businesses, small businesses received $51,000 in survival grants. And then we had $50,000 match on Main. And that went to actually two companies locally here, Mountain Town and Pleasant City Coffee. And in the case of Mountain Town, so this is a little bit different. This was not necessarily COVID survival, but as you're emerging from the COVID-19 pandemic, what things would you like to do business to enhance your business and create more traffic and get more customers? So Pleasant City had the idea of developing their expansion on their roof and a wine bar, which is a really cool idea because it's wine. They're going to be serving the wine from Michigan sources. It's all Michigan-based wine. So wine bar and upstairs seating. And then at Mountain Town, his proposal was outdoor seating for meals and a large tent for additional functions. And so both of them received a $25,000 grant from the state for those purposes. So again, we were able to leverage more grant money coming in. So that's kind of just an update on 2020 and first half of 2021. So I hope I didn't go too long, but Mr. Chairman, if there's any questions.
Jeff, it's good to see you. Congratulations on the medalist of the year award.
Thank you.
My question is, the American Rescue Plan allows an allowable use of those dollars as for broadband infrastructure. Do you see that as a big need here?
Absolutely. So here's what I know. I know Senator Jim Thomas is chair of appropriations in the Senate, and he's been working with the governor. They're trying to come to an agreement on the remaining federal funds that the state is sitting on. And I've heard they've made some progress. I know broadband is a high priority for Senator Thomas, for me. I know it is for the governor as well. So it's just a matter of what that final package is going to look like. We're sitting on a fairly large amount of CARES Act dollars and ARPA funds still at the state level. But you're right. I mean, you know, those should not go into operational expenses. Those should go into capital expenses, and broadband is, in my view, one of the best places to put them.
I have a question. All right, do you know when the building that Reese for and when that's
I don't know the exact date, but I know it's coming and soon. I'm sorry, I don't know the exact date. I'd have to check with Sarah.
I heard like September.
That might be March. I don't want to guess because
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I just want to commend Jim, your efforts for the Michigan Development Corporation. I know it's a challenging time. Seems like a lot of businesses are moving closer to the transportation corridors, and we in the north kind of get overlooked. So your efforts to be able to retain business and attract business is much appreciated. You certainly deserve the recognition you receive. And I'm looking forward to in-person meetings, but breakfast meetings.
Absolutely, yes. We just had our because we do the quarterly meetings, we just had our last one with Birgit Close, who had just recently retired from the Right Place. And she was excellent. She was great. I hear rumors that she might be doing something else soon, but we'll see. But she gave a great presentation. But again, it was online. And our next one will be in person. So it'll be in September. I should have an announcement on that. Who's going to be the speaker pretty soon. And what I'm trying to do for our December one, I'm trying to get the new president CEO of MEDC, Quentin Messer. He's going to be coming up here for the day to visit with us on September 30th, but I need to nail him down for that speaking engagement because he's great. He came up from New Orleans, and he's going to be a good leader. I'll just say that. We're excited to have him at the MEDC. But thank you for your comments.
Any other commissioners have any questions? Yeah, Mr. Jim, wonderful job again. It's trying times. I mean, I can just only imagine having to go with some businesses, talking to villagers, some struggle, and some of the success factors too. In our, just have to go up and down Michigan, go up and down the river, and see signs out there on the money. And also as we transition as a community and as a nation going to work from home more, there's some that probably coming up for state. We can come back to work. So got your hands full.
Yeah.
Good luck to you and thank you for what
Thanks so much, Mr. Chairman. Thanks to all of you for your ongoing support. We couldn't do it without your generous support.
All right, I'm just going to glide leave the podium there. We're going to introduce our central dispatch 911 surcharge presentation. Department of Marketplace, 911 first man. Thank you. See, Margaret, you're getting set up for stretching this week. We're going to have it. I think we're. As
long as he's ready.
Anytime I'm ready. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Good to see you. Good to be seen. Thank you to the public for watching today. This presentation is about the 911 surcharge issue. It's only about 9 slides, and I just start out here with this. Hopefully there's some sound. Maybe not.
Something's wrong. So your audio won't come through the Zoom.
Did last night.
I know it did last time. I know it did when we tested it.
That's okay.
Sound doesn't come through.
That's okay. It was just a 30-second blurb about Isabella County Central Dispatch. Just wanted to make sure that you saw that. The presentation, as we've stated before, is about the 911 surcharge renewal. This is not an increase. That's important to make sure we know that. And it's not our, it's our only source of funding. So what I'm showing you here is a report that we've done for the 2020 end of fiscal year. Some things to note, some amazing statistics. Over 159,000 phone calls processed during this last year. Non-emergency calls where we've helped people were over 100,000. Landline or wireline calls, as they call them, over 3,000. Wireless 911 calls, over 46,000. And text to 911, a new technology that we can now do at our center, is 80 of them already as we've come online with that capability. We've dispatched over 69,000 complaints, and you can see the breakdown of police, fire, and EMS runs. We dispatch for law enforcement, fire, EMS, and our county animal control agency. I want to make sure that it's understood that we have no general fund support. We have no millage support. We are funded 100% by our state surcharge, local surcharge, and a local maintenance system fee that we share with Central Michigan University for our computer-aided dispatch system. How the state fee works, because we get asked these questions. It's a collection by the Public Act 32 of 1986. It collects a 5% fee assessed to prepaid wireless devices and a 25% fee on any device that has a monthly bill. And then when the state collects all that money, it distributes it back out. That money that was collected last year was approximately $44 million. And I'll show you, that sounds like a lot of money. But then they disperse it amongst all the counties and all the 911 centers in the state of Michigan. So how that breaks down is 65% goes to the counties, but 60% of that being population-based, 40% is evenly divided. 25.56 goes to the commercial mobile radius or the wireless fund, our next gen 911 network. 5.5% to specialized dispatch training funds so dispatchers can keep up on their skill set. 1.5 to the operation of Michigan State Police Metro Dispatch Agency, and 2.44% to the state 911. And last year, Isabella County received $219,073 out of that $44 million. So how our local surcharge works, if you have a device that's able to call 911, there's a $3 service fee on it. And that you'll see, we have an example of a citizen's phone bill that they offered up to show. It comes up on the phone bill and shows the $3. Last year, Isabella County received $1.5 million in change as the local surcharge revenue. You can see that is a significant factor in how our budgets are determined. When you look at the state surcharge of about 13% approximately versus our local surcharge that we collect, it's 87%. It's a huge number. It is our only source of funding that we have. Come August 3rd, 2021, this proposition for the renewal of the 911 system funding will be on the ballot for the voters to decide. And so we want to get the word out that August 3rd is a vote to occur and come out and choose your vote. And that's the end of my presentation about the surcharge. If there's any questions, Mr. Chairman.
Any questions?
You said you got 80 texts since that option?
Yep.
When did that start?
We've got it. We're still in the process of our next generation updating and the text to 911. I don't know exactly which month we started in the last year. So it's been kind of a soft announcement that we have it. We are working with the local paper. We're getting a couple of articles out there to put that out. There's a lot of New resources that are available through 911. We have a function for the public called Smart 911. We have a function for the businesses called Rave Facility, all free. That if you dial 911, it helps us give more information to the responders when they come to help you. So texting to 911, a huge benefit. Doesn't have to go through a relay service or anything now. They can use it, and the slogan that we want to make sure everybody knows is call if you can, that's the best, but text if you can't. And there's been situations where people have had intruders in their house and they can't talk. There's been situations where they've been injured and they can't talk. And there's been situations where people haven't felt comfortable and can't talk. So the texting part comes in. And the only thing I'd like to make sure we tell everyone about texting is to the best of your ability, please use plain English, all the little acronyms and stuff that you may have amongst your family members and stuff. Our dispatchers may not know what that means. So please do that.
Commissioner Jones, what's the first question?
I'm thinking you must have Chief Sawyer on your payroll. I attended a Village of Shepherd meeting last night, and he spoke very much in support of this, and he went through all the rating program and some of the new features. I think he spoke for about 15 minutes, but, I think as I go out and talk to the public, I haven't had any comments that I've heard to the negative. But I am noticing your signs out. There's signs out, and there is word of mouth. And Margaret has passed some information that we can electronically send out.
Excellent.
Commissioner Ray.
Yeah, I'd like to know, how do you determine that it's local? There's a local surcharge, right? I mean, some
Yes.
phones move all around.
That's an excellent question. So 5 years ago, actually, in a local township hall, we were doing the presentation, and one of the people there had said, well, we have 5 phones on our plan, and I have my phone through my granddaughter, and all 5 are on the plan. And so she's like, so are you talking there'd be $3 assessed on each of the 5 phones? I'm like, yep, that would be the case, and it would be $15 per month as it goes forward total. I said, where does your granddaughter get her phone bill at? Texas. He said, we're getting nothing for your phone in Isabella County. So you get the full services. If you dial 911, we're going to send you our local police, fire, EMS, state police, but your money's going down there. So, and even as recent back then in the 5 years ago, we discovered even with one of our former citizens and commissioner who helped us out, there was just a simple address error. And that was sending his money and charging him a different thing, even though he's 4 or 5 miles in the county up to Clare County. So, and we would just want to make sure that, if you don't see it, please do see it on your bill. And if there's anything we can do to help educate anyone, please give us a call, not on 911, please dial the 989-773-1000. But we are happy to help that way. Thank you.
Our office receives calls on this quite a lot, asking about the bill and language. Is this something that can be forwarded to us, or is there a place where we can tell them to go and find?
I can make this available after today. Yep, absolutely. Yep. Anything else, Mr. Chairman?
Well, I just like to say in your presentation, when we had to be brief on it, the briefness does not apply to the value of 911 to our community. It's a necessary service that we have. $1.5, $1.6 million comes from that. Can't emphasize enough what that would be if we did not have this surcharge. Where that money would come from, would have to come from the general fund. It was something that included the community around them. Just a few times, broken state, big apples. And I noticed a lot of signs, like this house, I've never seen them. Going down this road, signs are out, and people are full support of us. Just as we talked about one of the commissioners this week, probably one of our next work meetings, we see the next one board in finance administration over the next 2 years. We're probably going to have a little discussion on the whole process of the special election, but we'll into a special election just so we can learn as a county. In this commissioner too, as we learn what involved in special election. So I think that's going to be addressed. But again, I can't emphasize enough. Margaret's trying to keep me over here at the table. We can't advertise and promote and do anything like that. But this is necessary. You mentioned, Jerry mentioned firefighters, police,
everybody. I don't want to say it's no brainer.
Appreciate that. And like you said, sir, the points are our sole source of revenue. And it's not an increase. It's just the same as what it is staying forward. Extremely important. And we appreciate the opportunity to serve our public and help in any way possible. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Next up, boards and commissions. Commissioner Swing, would you like to introduce this, please?
Right, consider reappointing Bob Gears, Latitude Media LLC to continue to serve as a private sector representative on the Great Lakes Bay, Michigan Workforce Development Board for a 2-year term until June 30th, 2023.
Margaret, if you want to, Mr. Peters, I know you're on that board, you and I are both on that board, I don't recognize it, I'm sure we have.
I certainly do. I think a lot of people in the community recognize Bob Peters' name probably because he is a radio personality, right? And he does a lot of volunteer work in the community. And if you heard his voice, you recognize him. He has served as a media representative on the Great Lakes Bay Board. It's one of those boards that has certain areas that have to have representation in. And he would be the media representation and a representative from Mount Pleasant. I'm sorry, Isabel County. He's done a great job. You know, he's at the meetings, he has good input, and volunteers and things, and I will tell you, he did a lot of work, and you recognize his voice in the Veterans Affairs public service campaign of outreach. That was his voice. He did all that for the ones. I believe that he is a son who is in the Marines. I know he is a son who is in the service, and so very supportive. He does a great job.
Any other commissioners? All right, hearing and seeing none, then we'll move forward to this evening. Next up, committee reports. First up, Finance and Administration Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Item number 1 is consider ratifying and placing on file the June 11, 2021 invoice list in the amount of $475,026.58. The June 18, 2021 invoice list in the amount of $354,481.46. The June 25th, 2021 invoice list in the amount of $78,242.96. And the July 2nd, 2021 invoice list in the amount of $204,351.84. The July 9th, 2021 invoice list in the amount of $181,091.87. And the adjustment list dated July 15th, 2021. So several lists because we didn't meet the week of July 4th. And so I'm just going to touch on some of the bigger expenses that we see on these. If anything over 5,000, of course, ends up at the top of the page, that first page. I'll just touch on some of the larger ones were for the June 11th list were integrated architecture, $11,974 April. And then March cost for integrated architecture was $50,499.07. And then Clark Construction for $32,362. Those costs will come back to the general fund once our bond anticipation gets finalized. And then there's a tax tribunal refund of $48,214. And then the community mental health third quarter appropriations of $54,075. I'm on a community mental health board, I can tell you, yeah. I don't know how many times that much money is back. The county appropriation is a tiny sliver of what we get. Most of that is Medicare dollars. And then the June 18th list, Mid-State Health Network, $58,509. For the second quarter PA2 fund, which is for substance abuse treatment. Integrated architecture, $86,898.63. That was for the month of May. And then the MSU fourth quarter MOA work plan, in the amount of $40,435.75. Sure. The June 25th list, the big item there was the August election ballots, $13,221.52. Other than that, only 4 items. Over that $4,000, a little smaller list. Slow week there, I guess. The July 2nd list, a smaller Michigan tax tribunal refunded $7,291.56, and then some public defender appointments. The July 9th list had a charge of $40,942 from Shell Point Mortgage Servicing, which is from a foreclosure sale for the Treasurer's Office. And then moving on to the adjustment list dated July 15th, we see the all the work and food service invoices that we pay early to get the early payment discount. And then the Consumers Energy and City of Mount Pleasant Water Department invoices that we also pay early to avoid late fees. And then one invoice decrease due to sales tax. Mistakenly being added as a $4 difference. And then a calculation error on one invoice of about $3. And that covers those. Any questions on any of that? Okay.
Just a quick question. I don't remember if I asked this in committee or not, but on the June 18th, there's the Central Michigan District Health Department. It's the second one down with the list. It's only $5,875.10 for contagious disease. Is that COVID-19 expense?
Go ahead, Margaret.
I can answer that, Commissioner. No, it is not. It is a separate payment that we every year to Central Michigan District Health for contagious diseases. And then to do what they do then with contagious diseases.
Thank you.
Yes. I asked that question several years ago too. I was like, what is that for? So.
Good question.
Any other questions? Okay, hearing and seeing none, that item will move forward to tonight's agenda.
The second item on the agenda is consider adopting the Isabella County Board of Commissioners Resolution number 21-07-01, pledging full faith and credit to Mission Creek Drainage District bonds, and authorize the Isabella County Clerk to sign the same. What we have representing. Anyhow, we did have Drain Commissioner present at the meeting, and this is a rather large project for Mission Creek, which is located on the kind of northern boundaries of the city. I think it runs through the old state-owned property and then heads out some up to the west. But I know there were some questions about, typical assessments, but I don't think they're to that point yet. They know the project costs and looking to be able to buy for it, which is something that the county board has given something credit to past train projects. Any questions?
Just a comment, I'll add that the drain commissioner and committee said that area had some issues when we had the big flood in 2017. We were close to losing, I think he said Crawford Road at that time because the crossings under the road were not big enough. So this will help with that situation.
There's what, 3 road crossings on that project?
3 road crossings, and we did say there was an old dam there as well that'll be removed.
Any other questions? We'll move this forward then to tonight's regular meeting.
Okay. Item number 3 is consider approving the fiscal year 2022 victim rights prosecutor grant application in the amount of $144,242.
Okay. Good afternoon. Prosecutor Barbary couldn't be here this afternoon, so he asked me to step in. I'm Dorothy Marshall. I'm the administrative manager for the prosecutor's office. This is Jordan Rios. She is our victim rights coordinator and advocate. And so I brought her along to answer those questions about the actual program if you have any. Basically, this is every year we have to renew the application for the Victims' Rights Grant. The grant covers all the wages and expenses, most of the expenses for the Victim Rights Program in the prosecutor's office. Their job, the advocate's job, is to assist victims through the criminal court process, assist them with services if needed, and also works with corrections quite a bit. So the amount is the same as we've had for the last 3 years, with the addition of $2,400 for computer upgrades, which is something that they give us every 3 years. So basically it's just a renew of that. And so we just are looking for your approval of the grant.
Good, ladies, this is good work that you're doing. Maybe you could just touch on what you do for time in your office.
Hello, everyone. That's kind of my wheelhouse. So for the Victim Rights Program, over the recent years, I will say it has expanded a really.
Jordan, one moment. You can just have Dorothy, if you want to slide your laptop just a smidge.
Perfect.
There we go.
Perfect.
Sure. So over the last 2 or 3 years, the program has expanded pretty notably, mostly due to our office taking more profound steps in involving victims within the court process and making sure they understand their rights here in Isabella County. As of recent, we have done more community programming, community outreach. Due to COVID-19, we're not able to host our 2nd grade reading program where we educate younger children here in Isabella County about domestic violence. We are looking to renew that for October of this year in place of last year, and to continue working with the Child Advocacy Center here in Isabella County during Child Abuse Awareness Month in April. That coincides with National Crime Victims' Rights Week for the state of Michigan. Other portions of our responsibilities do include managing the day-to-day phone calls, assisting victims in an actual crisis response, connecting them with local resources here in our county that work very hard to maintain, and being present through court proceedings, being able to support them through that process, whether it be via Zoom or in person, and really just making sure that we have a well-rounded response to trauma-informed care when working with individuals here in our county.
Thank you. Yeah, questions? Okay, hearing and seeing none, that I move forward to tonight's agenda, and Mr. Chairman, that concludes the finance administration.
Thank you, gentlemen. Next up, criminal justice and county affairs.
Hi, Mr. Chairman. First item is consider approving the addendum to the agreement for the attorney services for individuals managed to assign to counsel contract effective October 1st, 2020 through September 30th, 2021. To add Kyle Lloyd as an assigned counsel and authorize the board to chair this addendum to contract agreement. had in the past, just adding the new council that Greg Thomas Hausman of Fences Online here can answer any questions.
How exciting.
Good afternoon. Much like Commissioner Sweeney already stated, this is an addendum to the contract, adding Kyle DeClue as a member of that contract. I had included a copy of Kyle's resume to the committee last week because I think Kyle's a very impressive individual. I think he brings with him a wealth of knowledge that will only be beneficial not only to other members of the contract to bounce ideas off of, but also in the representation of indigent individuals. Kyle's a veteran, very impressive individual. I think that he'll be a benefit to the contract, not only as, I guess, another person on the contract, but right now we also are down a member on the contract due to some health issues. So really the timing of this couldn't be any better. Him and his partner, TJ Pierce, are opening a law firm here in Mount Pleasant, conveniently located in the same office building that a number of the other attorneys on that contract are already located in. So I'm looking forward to having him join the contract, not only in the short term, but hopefully with them opening up their own law firm, they're going to stick around town for quite a while.
Well, I'm glad that we're starting to get your department filled. You're doing a great job with the public affairs department. We're very lucky to have you there. With that, we'll move this forward to the regular session. Okay, the next item is consider entering into the individual sales contract with Jeff Galloway to be the managed sign counsel, MAC administrator, in accordance with the fiscal year 2022 Michigan Internet Defense Commission MITC compliance plan cost analysis authorized for chair to sign the same. This is continued with our plan to fill it out, meet all the compliance, and hopefully the plan is up to meet the next compliance requirement. So quite a bit of financial impact for not meeting the guidelines. So quite important with that. Public better house, but you have a comment further on this?
Yes. So this is essentially me relinquishing my control over the contract. This is kind of the last piece of compliance that we have with our compliance plan with the Michigan Indigent Defense Commission. Our plan years ago started with the Public Defender's Office as well as the Managed Assigned Counsel contract. It is designed so that that contract is administered by a different individual from myself, and that's for conflict of interest purposes. That's so that the members of the contract can go to that person to request funds for experts, investigators, things like that, so that there isn't any appearance of impropriety in regards to my office handling co-defendants on multiple cases or anything like that. And so that we, as part of that, up until now, we had developed a conflict of interest policy so that if for whatever reason our office represented somebody and a member of the contract represented somebody who was on that same case, that there was a procedure there so that there was no conflict or any appearance of impropriety whatsoever. This person would also conduct all the monthly billing for all the attorneys. It's really the last piece of major compliance that we have with our public defender's office. And so I look forward to having that last little piece complete.
More questions? Seeing none, we'll move this forward to the next session, and thank you, Public Defender Houseman for the report.
Thank you.
All right, item number 3, consider approving the Isabel County Central Dispatch Network Fiber Network LLC. You have that service order and authorize the board chair to sign the same. This is Mark Curtis here to answer any questions. Basically, we're going to need this service to hook up a new public safety radio console that come in after the last one was hit by lightning.
Correct. I am trying to start the video picture.
Perfect. Change your name.
Thank you. Yes, the Peninsula Fiber Network is a backbone to our future radio system that we're currently trying to install. As stated previously, the previous one was struck by lightning and compromised. This is part of the project. It's a 60-month contract to have the 10-meg HyperNet internet basically to the radio as a backbone to be able to connect to all the things that talk to the police, fire, EMS units out there on the radio systems. This was an expected cost. There is a non-recurring cost of $375 to have it installed. It's a 60-month contract. As soon as we move forward with this, then we would be able to budget this as we go forward for the next few years. We knew this would be a cost that was coming. There's a discount that was offered, so it'll drop down to $575 a month as we go forward. Pretty standard as parts of the project that we're putting together to replace our radio system.
Any questions, commissioners? We'll move this forward. Okay.
Yes, next item is consider approving revising fiscal year 2019 pre-disaster mitigation PDF grant program grant agreement. Brad Board Chair is kind of saying we've already approved this, but it came back to us because there was a state entity misprint. So basically they corrected the misprint and forwarded it back to be re-signing it. So I don't know if there's any questions on it or not.
It's a typo. We just corrected it, made it right. We just need to re-sign it to keep the agreement in action. To keep our this agreement.
So there's no questions in this order tonight.
All right, item number 5, consider approving the fiscal year 2022 emergency management performance grant EMPG work agreement and authorize the board chair to sign the same. Go ahead.
So this is the annual work agreement. We do this before we actually get the grant agreement, which comes at the end of the year. You have before you a lengthy staff report that had some examples of all of the different items that I have to perform or make sure they're done during the entire course of the grant fulfillment time that we have, so to speak, for the year. Standard, you've seen it every year. They're just explaining a little more of all the things that have to be done as it goes forward. We'll anticipate a grant agreement at the end of this project, and at that time we'll know how much they're going to give us. So, a little backwards from most grants.
What one of our citizens can't see is there are 40 pages of tasks for you to do for this grant. Working hard for this grant. Are there any questions? All right, we'll move that on to the work session, or sorry, the regular session.
Okay, the next item up is consider approving the fiscal year 2020 Homeland Security Grant Program intergovernmental agreement with West Michigan Regional Medical Consortium, the WMRMC, in Isabel County, and authorized court to sign the same. Homeland Security Grant, a lot of the money they're drying up. This is a no-cost grant. So, you want to explain what's in it?
This is an agreement we have to have with the fiduciary. The fiduciary covers all the counties in Region 6. There's 13 counties in Region 6. And so by signing on to this agreement, it allows them to procure things for us or allows us to purchase stuff and get reimbursed by them for the equipment that we purchased during the grant period. This year's grant, this will lead into the next staff report, as a new requirement in the funding area. They're now calling it a priority area. It's got some subtasks that we have to fulfill as a region of the 13 counties. So it's important that we sign this agreement to be able to get the pass through on the Homeland Security dollars to benefit Isabella County. So,
Questions on that?
All right, last item, number 7, consider authorizing the return of $2,695.40 to the Region 6 allocation to meet the Homeland Security Grant LETPA priority area project requirements, and authorize the board chair to sign the letter to Ms. Richmond. And so, Mark, I'll let you explain how we're achieving our grant obligations.
thank you, Commissioner. So in the grant layout that came out for the money for the 13 counties, they had set aside, I don't know the exact dollar, but X amount of money for funding of priority areas. But that amount of money they set aside in our grant for it is actually less than the amount of money we must spend on it. And so the local counties all have allocations to them based on a formula determined from the state. And the region had a discussion, and to make sure we're safe for an audit, the best way we feel to do it is to send back the minimum amounts from each of the local allocations to make sure the entire region has the full funding of the pot available to spend on the priority areas. Isabella County will be a member of the board, will be able to help guide and choose what we will spend on for the details of those projects. It was asked earlier by Commissioner Sweeney what some of those requirements were. They had fallen into 4 kind of overarching areas: enhancing cybersecurity, enhancing protection of soft targets in crowded places, enhancing intelligence and information sharing and cooperation with federal agencies and DHS, and addressing emerging threats, transnational criminal organizations, weapons of mass destruction, and unmanned aerial systems. So those are all things that are eligible through this federal grant. It doesn't mean that we'll pick those things to address, but they will fall somewhere in that. There's some overarching stuff too about election security might be available. So we'll be talking with the clerks and everybody to try and see what ideas they have for projects to be funded. But in order to make sure we're covered for the grant, I would recommend and support. We have the staff report there to reallocate that money back to the region so they have a whole pot, so we won't miss any requirements in the grant and have an audit or have to give the money back. So.
Thank you for that explanation. Is there any questions? Thanks for explaining everything to us. We'll move that one on to the regular session tonight.
Thank you. Next, please look at Criminal Justice and County Affairs Committee. Next up is Human Resources and Public Works.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Our first item is consider approving for $2.25 per hour temporary premium pay commissioner of aging direct care workers, and authorize 4 years to sign the direct care worker wage tax documentation forms that made in 2021. And what this is the governor went for signing into law that premium pay for direct care workers funding reaches 7 area aging will reimburse our organization up to $3,700 according to the temporary $2.25 per hour premium pay for direct care workers provided from March 1st, 2021 to September 30th, 2021. This funding will include all costs incurred by the employer, including payroll taxes, resulting in $2.25 per hour increase. And the financial impact is the May award is $848.25. And the payroll taxes were $1.39. The total award is $9,200. 2074 since. This is a continuation of the program that we've been having throughout the COVID time. And yes, and this will be on our regular session. So, any other questions?
I just clarify.
Sure.
Jennifer wanted to extend her apology, but she had the opportunity to be on vacation this week with her family. And I told her going to that, and we will take care of this for her and not think twice about it. So that's why she's not with us this evening. She wasn't communicating with her such a presentation. So I agree with her. Sharing. It's just the usual operation thing that we're doing, right? And she uses it in the last.
Yeah, yes.
And I just wanted to say that I want to thank you for explaining everything you went through it. This is the last payment on the program. Good deal. I think this is back. Number 2 is consider approving the grant application between the Michigan Department of Military and Veterans Affairs and the Michigan Veterans Affairs Agency in Lisbon County in the amount of $75,000 for enhanced veteran service operation and authorized manager of the same. Ian Walsh reported us, and I want to thank him. He did a great job of giving us all the background. He again had signed up for some work that he's doing, and we thank him for what he's done. But this is a program that dates back all the way to 1953, and it was amended in 2018. And it's a grant program that normally we would get $50,000 through this, but because of like some counties not being able to participate, we're actually going to do a grant.
Just one, so real quick, also too, the committee, Commissioner Sweeney mentioned earlier, with all the grants we have received, this one here is quite detailed out, so, you notice that we did a very good presentation. You did the presentation, Commissioner, you'll see that one of the dates, beyond the date, however, we already made the application, which is something like that. Outside of our committee, outside of the committee, it's also how the money is step 2 is very well detailed. Excellent. Commissioner Jones, this is a question.
Somebody else before me? No? Okay. My hearing, I don't have my hearing aids on, so sometimes I
I
can't.
feel like I would have been son, I'm looking for a piano so I can start getting.
I know last year at this time, I asked Ian, after the first year experience, how many people were added, to the roles that came into the office. And he indicated that there wasn't much change in the number of people served. And I know at that time we were going into the second year grant, which we're doing the advertising on the buses and the billboards and all. So I wish Ian was here today to be able to ask that question again and see if it's really having an impact. And if it's not, are there other ways that we might reach the veteran population that may be more effective?
He was concerned with that it was important to reach as many people.
I would just say that Ian is not here this evening because he's at a required certification training to maintain his certification as a veterans officer and to provide assistance to our veterans. So that's why he's not here this evening. And I don't want to speak for him, but I think to answer the question, maybe virtually, or he can answer it himself somewhere, is that, the second year was a strange year because of COVID. So he wasn't able to go to the home shows. There weren't home shows. He wasn't able to go here, go there, do certain outreach that he had planned to do. I find it interesting that obviously the question is well placed, Commissioner Johnson. And I also think that Ian's answer is, it is our quantitative, we'll give that quantitative information. I will ask him, he doesn't report, I know he reports to the Veterans Affairs Board, but I will ask him, because we work together all the time, and obviously he's part of our team. I'll ask him to put together something to report back to the meeting, but he's going to be his intent.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
No one has any questions or comments that concludes
Thank you, gentlemen. Next up, is Government Affairs, which we have, Administrative Control Reports, we have nothing. Next moves to unfinished business, which we have no agenda items. That brings us to item number 9, general public comments. Talk to our public, anybody have anything to say? No one is walking to the podium, so I'm going to turn down the people down there.
We do not have anyone on Zoom.
Okay.
Public comment.
Public comment, just a few more moments, let everybody possibly need to on the call.
Good.
Okay, I will close public comment, and that will bring us down to announcements. Commissioners, Commissioner Joseph.
I did attend the Village of Shepherd council meeting yesterday, and I heard a report from the 2 people that attended the workshop. And they were very complimentary about it, and they said the information was good, and they were presenting that to the village officers, trustees, whatever. And they indicated that they thought the program was well attended and of value. So I want to compliment Margaret for doing that. Maybe she'll have more comments on it, but I'm hoping down the road, some of the discussion that I've heard, I think we can still continue as a county to work with our local units of government to try to use the money, whether it's coming from going to a township or village or city or the county. I think there's opportunities for additional dollars coming in from the feds, additional dollars coming in from the state to get the largest impact of those dollars. We're going to have to work together with kind of some of the leaders out in our county to get the best bang for the buck. I did attend the Northern Michigan Counties Association meeting yesterday, and just a couple of quick things that was reported by Mac. It looks like there's a change in, looking at a change of primary dates, moving from local offices, moving the primary from August to June 3rd, which means you have to have your paperwork in February or early March. And I think this is supported by the County Clerks Association because it helps the process. I didn't follow it out, but that's it's a bill that's moving its way through the legislature. The ballot fee, you can, when you register for an elected office, you can pay $100 to be put on the ballot, or you can go by petition. In the past, if you were I think the second highest vote getter, you got your $100 back. Legislation is now that it's probably going to be retained, likely to be retained by the local county clerk's office for improvements, whether it's equipment or whatever for future elections. The legislature is looking at a tourism excise tax of 3%. Has nothing to do with the excise tax, tourism tax that benefits the Convention and Visitors Bureau. But that 3% to be dedicated for law enforcement funding. Apparently, our experience in the past is being experienced by other governmental entities, either because of tourism, they don't have enough staff, or I'm not sure exactly the full use of those dollars, but it would be something that a county board could adopt. It would be charged on heads and beds, in addition to the Convention Bureau tax. That the county doesn't have to do it, but it is something that's being looked at and would benefit law enforcement funding. It's also a look at extending binding arbitration to correction officers. Right now, I think we're limited to a couple of categories of our unionized employees, but I think MAC is taking a opposition. And I think we all are kind of concerned that binding arbitration decisions are made that we have no control over. They That's one of the things that's moving through. The program dealt with a problem that, I'm not saying a problem, but a situation we're looking at with the sheriff's office and the county jail, where you having to move it out of whatever you find the county seat. And there was a lot of good information from people that have had that experience. And there were representatives from a senator and house member, not from our district, elsewhere though. And so I posed the question, how was that defined? Because that was the Constitution, was that back in the 60s that was adopted? And the reasons for it back then may be no longer enforced. So the representative from the senator said, we talked to the senator and try to get a definition. I guess there's a process by which they can get a definition on the Constitution where some of the terms are maybe up to question. And depending on that, they could then move to an opinion from the Attorney General. So I don't know if that's going to have any impact down the road, but it's probably a good definition to follow. And I don't know in terms of our own county seat, if we ever took any kind of action that identified the city of Mount Pleasant as our county seat, or it just happened to be traditionally and it got to be called the city of Mount Pleasant county seat. Two suggestions that other counties did to remedy the situation. This may have a positive impact too. One county asked the city to annex that property. And I'm not sure how far we are from our property to the city line, but it may be just a short distance of road connected to that property. There's not a lot of tax value that would be lost by Union Township. It would have to be agreement with the township and city. But that did work for one entity. And I'm not going to think of it now. I will pass it on as I do think about it. But I thought the discussion was good. I do appreciate being able to attend that meeting.
Yeah, just real quick, I wanted to comment, Jerry, that ARP session I was at, 2 townships last night, there was our representatives, and I think at least one of them have applied. They were really
He said at least one of them went back and applied.
Just to echo Commissioner Johnson's, everybody's wondering what the townships and the help that we received. In our last meetings, we brought up our 2 commissioners, the county commissioners, the city, some of their townships. What happened with the art money is the entitlement, which I think everyone, this I understand, is the entitlement. County was basically the first one to and then the other townships and municipalities were afterwards with a different type of application process. And giving that some of the smaller townships and municipalities, instead of on the staff, part-time staff, not equipped with as the county is, or the township is, or the city of Mount Pleasant is. In our last board meeting, our last committee meeting, Commissioner Edinburgh brought it up in his work group, and then finance administration brought up by Commissioner Jozinski, and Administrator Control McAvoy stated that she would put together a document from the work group, and it was held here last evening for Commissioner Aging, and it was welcome attended. It was very helpful. I think this is an aspect of working together with the community to do it. I attended, and some of the other commissioners will be attending some other sites. I attended the MAC Summit this year. Association of County Summit, quarterly offsite meeting in Rapids yesterday. The ARP funding was talked about. Also was talked about process with COVID-19 and some of the OSHA requirements. We think some of us, self-included, decided we got to put max down in this building today. That's, hearing the person talk about my notion of some of the requirements involved. We're business, we're one county's business. And there are requirements that are different than just everything else. So we have a plan in place, constantly updated, just like we have a plan in place now. So it's very interesting. We're talk about the Delta variant. We're still out there. We have an emergency declaration in place, the county does. We don't see that being anytime soon. So we're in good shape. We're here live tonight at the, I don't think the community can actually see what's going on here, really, the true picture of the room. But we are basically in a, I'm gonna say a U shape, I'm not gonna say bull shape, because that makes me obviously about guys in the field. But we're in a U-shaped table configuration, and then at the end of the table, there's where everyone comes up and speaks. I made light of the comments here in regards to having a piano microphone next to me. But we're going forward as a county. This is a good start. We've got some bugs to work out, obviously, probably with some of the speakers. Being able to hear everything, hopefully it's coming over well on the internet. But it's a good thing for Isabella County is everything up again. So I just hope we can continue on and we don't have to have any more barriers in the way as we go forward. So, okay, with that, anybody else before I move into our closed session? So our closed sessions tonight, I would like to invite Bonnie Kosky to all three of our closed sessions. And then also on the last our final closed session, I would like Steve Kern to attend that. And once we come out of closed session, then we will address any business. I know we're adjourned. But right now we're going to move into closed session. Okay, I would like Commissioner Howell, if you would like to handle this business.
Sure, I'll make a motion to go into closed session to consider entering into a closed session.
Stan, I just won't invite you to that. I'll invite you to the first one. It's okay. You can stand. Yeah.
As a motion of support to enter into a closed session under section 8C of the Open Meetings Act to discuss collective bargaining agreement strategy. That will be.
If we go in the breakout room, it won't record. So I think we'll make sure
Sure.
Yes.
The phone curveball. This is meeting number one, so
This one's gonna go.
So we have to vote on that?
Jim.
That's a roll call vote? Roll call vote. So no, I'm not Ron Burgundy, I'm actually making this stuff up. Okay.
Put that one.
Commissioner Eva?
I can put it back in the window.
Yes. Thank you.
Yes, oh, I'm sorry.
Commissioner Deszinski?
Yes.
Commissioner Hutchinson? Commissioner Marino?
Yes.
Commissioner King?
Yes.
And Commissioner Horton?
Yes.
Votes are 7 ayes and 0 nays. Motion passed, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, now we will go into closed session, but we also are on YouTube, so we have to now follow the instructions on the screen. We'll hit join, correct, Nicole?
Correct. Once you guys are in closed session, it's a little weird, but it will not record and it will not go to YouTube. We have people checking that for sure.
Okay, yeah, that was my question. We have no capability to go back. Okay.
Yeah, and so you want to just, pause for a little bit just to make sure that, we are okay. No one can hear us. And I give you the, okay, we are in, we're not going to YouTube anymore. I have YouTube up and I still see us, but there is a delay. It looks like Margaret needs to join and then, okay, perfect.
now, we're now back into the open meeting. I could get a motion and support to go into closed session.
So moved, William. Support Swain.
We have a motion and support to go into closed session under section 8E of the Open Meetings Act to consult with attorney regarding trial or settlement status in connection with Stephen W. Pickett versus Isabella County Board of Education. Any further discussion?
Commissioner Engler,
Yes.
Commissioner Josinski,
Yes.
Commissioner Hutchinson,
Yes.
Commissioner Marino,
Yes.
Commissioner Slaney,
Yes.
Commissioner Holt,
Yes.
Commissioner Hart.
Yes,
Votes cast 7 ayes, 0 nays. Motion passed, Mr. Chairman.
thank you. We will now go into closed session. Well, I'll just wait for your thumbs up. Okay, we are now in closed session.
Oh,
Session one, the part of the new business, I would like to take that off the agenda.
I'll make a motion to take that off the agenda and do it to.
Support this week.
We need a roll call vote on that.
We have a motion to support to amend the agenda and remove.
Commissioner Engler?
Yes.
Commissioner Jazinski?
Yes.
Commissioner Hutchinson? Commissioner Moreno?
Yes.
Commissioner Slaney?
Yes.
Commissioner Holt?
Yes.
Commissioner Horton? Votes cast 7-0, nays, motion passed.
Okay. That. Chair will call the, that's my agenda here. Please take the chair maps 7:06. I'm going to, board chair, I'm going to take a 10-minute recess to.
Thank you.